Greetings, residential construction students. It's time to go build a garage. Complete awesomeness right there, gentlemen. Even you Dodge and Ford lovers, you gotta love that thing. So here we go. Got my material here today to build this garage that I'm gonna videotape for you. We'll see how it goes. And look at that prime specimen of a forklift. $2,500 paid for that thing, and it goes 32 feet high. Should be plenty good to help build this thing. Rafters are here. Sheeting. And so we're going to get started. Throw this all on that trailer right there and start building. Now that I'm warmed up, I'm going to talk about this pile of lumber here a little bit and what is all here. So we have two microlambs. These microlambs are going to go across the 16-foot garage door opening. We have a couple of 2x8s. These are going to be for above a window and the service door, or the walk-in door. Of course, you can see the studs down there. Those are all for the walls. They'll have to be cut to 92 and 5/8 so the sheeting fits the wall, and we'll talk more about that. We've got green treated right here. These are the bottom plates, and they will be used to make contact with the concrete floor when this building is set in place. The blue roll up there is our house wrap paper that goes on the outside of the wall before we do our siding. We have 2x6s here. It looks like there's 6 of them. Those are for fascia, sub-fascia, where the roof comes down and it's that horizontal or vertical piece, and then the horizontal part underneath of it would be the soffit. We'll talk more about that. And then over there we got some long 2x4s. Those are top plates of the wall because you're going to double top plate it. And those will also be used for some lateral bracing, which we'll talk more about for the rafters. And then we've got a little bit of hardware here. This is for 8 penny nails for sheeting, 16 penny nails for framing, Some hand nailing has to be done, so we have a couple boxes of those, and then some Pazlo gas for the nailer. We have the sheeting I moved over here, worked up that good sweat, and we'll see about unloading this a little bit so I can make room to build the walls on this trailer. I think I'm going to put the studs up on top of that lift, and the long stuff kind of go underneath the side down under the trailer for now. So we'll keep tuned and see how this goes. It's going to come together awfully fast once we get going. Now that we have all of our lumber cleared off the trailer, we're ready to start laying out one of these walls. And we're going to start with the simple one first. There's nothing in our way, it's just going to be all studs. And the two side walls in this picture you notice I've drawn, they run all the way through. So the two side walls of this garage are going to be 24 feet outside to outside of the framing. So we're going to start with this one right here. We're going to lay out two plates, a top and a bottom plate, 24 feet long, mark them out for studs, and then start putting the studs in them. This wall is going to go in between both outside or side walls, so it's going to be 7 inches shorter than these two walls were, because we have to take 3.5 and 3.5 off both sides, and that's going to leave us with 7. So 7 inches shorter than 24 feet, we're going to be 23 feet. 7 inches shorter, 5 inches. Okay, so we'll start with this one. We'll start laying out the plates, and we'll go from there. Two top plate, bottom plate. Our SPF, or our pine one here, is going to be the top plate. This green treated, we talked about earlier, that it's going to be in contact with concrete most likely, so this is our bottom plate. And what we're going to do is mark these out. So you see right here, I've got these two lined up perfectly with each other. And then when I go down, we'll see that one of them is going to have to be cut. I'm using two 12-footers, and two 14-footers for the green treated. So if we pull out the tape measure here, and we're looking for 24 feet, we're just an 1/8 inch over. So I'll take an 1/8 inch off of one of these. And then I look at the joint here, 12 foot on center. That's exactly where I want to put a stud, so that'll work. Okay, so with my tape here in the middle, this was at 12 feet. A stud will land on half of this one and half of that one. That's what we want. And then if there's a stud here, there's going to be another stud centered on 16 inches here. So this bottom plate, we're going to cut it right there. That way we're going to be halfway on this one. This one will move up to it, and then we'll get the length of what we need to be cut down there so that top and bottom plate matches. Okay, so there I am at 12 feet again. Here I am at 160 inches, which is going to be the same as 16 inches away from the 144. And check out the other end here. I cut that one back so it was 24 exact, and now we'll mark this green treated one and cut that. Both our plates will be the same. Okay, with my two plates here, cut exactly the same length, 24 feet, with our joints that are going to land on studs. We're going to start marking out where the stud placement goes. So we know we're going to put a stud on the end. So what we're going to do then is we're going to go up to 16 inches. And at 16 inches, this is now the center of a stud. A stud is 1.5 inches wide. So if I go 3/4 inches each way, that puts my stud right here in the middle. So what we're going to do is we're going to mark 3/4 under each 16th inch or 16-inch increment. So here I am at 32. 3/4 inch under. Put the X on the correct side. 48. 3/4 under. And so on. We'll just keep going right down the line. So there was my 3/4 under mark. And now I'm going to just put a line across both of them. Then, this is where our stud will go on the wall. You can see my X there, faintly on both of them. So now we'll go right down the line, marking these off. Okay, so what we have now is our 16-inch increments where the studs are going to go, And just so you know, look at that, right on center. Look at that, right on center. And it goes right on down. So the other thing to notice is why we do 3/4 feet or 3/4 inch under is because when I come out here to 4 feet, I'm going to have a stud that's going to be laying right in here. Well, our piece of sheeting is going to end in the middle. That way, the other piece of sheeting can go in this direction from the 4 feet. So we're going to be putting about 3/4 of an inch of wall sheeting on this side and 3/4 of an inch from my finger from 4 feet this way. That's why it's so important to be 3/4 inches under to get your studs on center. Wall plates. I'm going to take these 2 wall plates now. I'm going to put one on the other side of the trailer and this one on this side. And then we're going to start cutting the studs to put in between. Now when you take your top and bottom plate and separate them from each other, you make sure that you don't turn them end for end in case there's a difference on how the studs are laid out. Your X's would be on the wrong side, your spacings could be off, all kinds of things can happen. So if we're on one end, we have to keep that end down here as well. Next important thing here is the stud length. We have sheets of sheeting that are 8 feet long. Our studs are 8 feet long. So what we need to do is we need to cut this down, subtracting a top plate and the bottom plate. So okay, here I have a little drawing kind of showing how this wall stud length is going to work out. I got a single bottom plate down here and I've got top double plate up here. So this is going to be 3 inches on the top. So we're going to subtract 3 inches from the 8-foot stud, and then we got 1.5 inches on the bottom. So when I subtract that from 96 inches, I should end up with 91.5. Now what I'm going to do though is I don't want my sheeting sitting right on the ground, and I don't want it sticking up above this plate. So I'm going to hold it back 1/4 inch on the top and 1/2 inch on the bottom. So what we're going to do is add 3/4 back into this. This is going to be 92 1/4. That will be the length that we're going to cut our studs at. Alright, what I've done here is I rigged up a little jig so that each time I cut my studs, they're going to be the same. So I have this stop here. I can cut off 3.5 inches and I'll get my 92 1/2 inch long stud every time. Okay, got the studs cut the length and laid out. Now what I have to do is mark the crown of the stud. I've already done these two, and I'm going to show you what I look for when I do this. What I do is I look down that stud and I look for a bow either up or down. Sometimes you have to flip it, look at it in both directions. This one looks pretty good either way, so I could probably put an X on either side. Then I line it up with my line, and then I go on to the next one and do the same thing. Looks pretty good. They're all going to be straight. This one you can see a slight crown in. Might be hard to see on the camera, but I'm going to go with a slight crown on the top of this one. And that's how we're going to mark all of them out, so that they are crowns facing up. All of the Okay, now we're going to work on nailing them in. And you can see I kind of ran it over the edge of the trailer here a little bit. I started a couple, and then I put it on the edge of the trailer. That way this lip just isn't in my way. And then I can easily get these nails in here and here. So now I'll go down the line, and what we'll do is look for the X. Place stud on that side of the X, and then I want to make sure that it's flush right here. We don't want this sticking in, and we don't want it sticking up. And you can see that I can just barely see my line right there, and that's what I want. So this one's sitting really good. I'm going to go ahead and nail it. When you're nailing, always keep your hand a safe distance away. When you're holding the stud, a safe distance away from the nailer. I like to usually go 2 to 3 times the length of the nail away for sure. And then we're just going to go right along and put all these in. This is just a quick note about the nails. These are 16 penny sinkers, and these are the ones we used on the top plate. These are actually, it's actually this red here is glue, and so when it goes into the wood, it heats up, and then it cools off and glues itself in. It makes it hold itself in there better. Here we have what we call ACQ nails, and these are hot dip galvanized. They're used for in green treated, like we have over there on the bottom plates. That's all got to be done with these type of nails. And they're galvanized, they won't rot away as easily being down there in the corrosiveness of the green treated, and they won't rust just by being damp. So I have to use, and code says that we have to use ACQ nails in green treated wood. Here's an example of a twisted board. And what we need to do is straighten him out before he gets nailed. Get my camera here. So what we're going to do is we're going to nail the bottom first, and then we're going to twist it to nail the top. So we get it so that this is still lower or flush. We'll nail the bottom, and then I'll twist it to line up, and then I'll hold it and nail it. Sometimes it's a lot easier with two people.